Hello, Professor Lovell. This is Hillary Labas, and this is going to be my digital media project for literary education class. I was originally planning on doing Toontastic. Unfortunately, the app was quite expensive, and our school did not have it on the school iPad. So, as an alternative, I decided, as inspiration from one of our classes with you, to look at Pinterest. Because with Pinterest, it may not seem like you could use it for language, but as you showed us, it is an amazing tool to relate traditional methods of teaching to new age technologies. So I'm going to go and I'm using my personal Pinterest as an example. So I'm just going to bring that up here. I chose Pinterest because you can really make it co-curricular. You can use it for whichever. Of course, mine's a little bit more geared to people that I've been following for just personal interests, but I'm going to go to my lovely profile here. Sorry about my picture. You can customize it however you'd like, which would be awesome for students because you could have them create a board for each subject, which I think shows a lot of merit. And one of the articles that you had us read was by Lovell and Phillips, and one thing that they talked about was how it's hard with technology because a lot of the technology doesn't allow like a student tracking, and it doesn't allow you to check up on students and their progress, which of course is the main job of a teacher. However, what I noticed with Pinterest is that you could share boards. Like the one we did for the Lady and the Tiger when we explored it in class. We could share it with other classmates, we could share it with you if you had a Pinterest account, and it was really cool in that sense because you could see what we were up to and we could see what each other was up to. So in that sense, it's a very collaborative piece, which is what media is all about these days, is making it into that social network atmosphere. So I found that was really cool, and I think it's really beneficial for students to be able to be familiar with that aspect of technology. So I like that, and I'm just going to explore how you could use it with students in mind because I have this as a very teacher-based thing right now. So like here's my board teacher things. It's good for teachers to collaborate as well, obviously, not just for students, but this is where a lot of lesson plans have come in from me, especially on placement. It was very helpful to see because there's a lot of other teachers that have their own boards. So I got a lot of art projects here and stuff like that, and reading comprehension from stuff like activities I would do in my language arts class with my grade 3s and 4s. So it was really, really good in that aspect. Oh, sorry about that. So what I would suggest if you're a teacher and you wanted to expose children to this type of technology is that you could easily just do this and not have them sign in like that. Sign out, they would make their own thing, and then you could just go to their profile and they could easily make a new board. Go create a board. So just for fun, I'm going to say student page language. Description, I'm just going to leave that all blank for now. It's very user-friendly. That's another thing I love about Pinterest is that any student could easily just quickly pop this up here. So we're going to just pretend that we're a student right now looking for language, and say you wanted us to write and learn about, like, do a project on narratives. That's something that I explored with my grade 3s and 4s. So let's pretend we're going to do narrative story writing. And that's perfect. And it comes up with all of these different things, and well, not things, comes with suggestions and different posts and pins that others have shared, which is, I think in a way, it's a little bit more interesting. Not to say it would be more effective per se, but it would be a lot more interesting for students to be able to find something that, if this was like for a final project or course culminating activity, students can definitely have a little bit more freedom and be able to demonstrate their thinking using Pinterest. And they could keep a catalog of all of what they think they want to do and then share it with their teacher. So let's say for this instance, the teacher was like, I want you to show me on your Pinterest board what a narrative is. Okay, so the student would type in narrative story writing or any type of variation, and there's a bunch of cool things here, like personal narrative, what it's talking about. So we're going to go ahead and just add that to my board, student page language, and it just simply adds. I'm going to do that for a couple more, just pretending I'm a student, because it's telling you all different ways that you could continue or start writing a narrative story. This is a really cool thing too, and it helps the student visually give a graphic organizer of how they would begin writing their story. And this would help not only with like just writing, but also with like the oral communication, because they would have to be able to justify to the teacher why they would want to use Pinterest, or if the teacher sat down with them and looked at their board and said, why is this relevant? The student would have to be able to orally communicate that. And then, of course, the reading and writing, because they're, especially like with this graphic organizer, they're going to have to be able to read and show their comprehension of that, they're understanding what a narrative is in such an instance. So there's lots of other stuff like that. There's other wonderful things that this could do. You could also type in math projects or any type of other things that you could incorporate language into, because language is great in that sense that it's such a co-curricular subject that you can apply it to basically anything. You can apply it to art. Just, there's endless opportunities. Even with science, if you wanted, what's happening here? Oh, I'm sorry, I don't know what's happening. There we go. So let's pretend they had to do a science project on, let's say, the water cycle. So we're going to pretend we're typing in the water cycle. They're going to have to find pins to add to their thing, that they could, to their board, that they could explain the water cycle. Like, here's a cool post here that I never would have thought of. Condensation, precipitation, evaporation. That's a really cool idea. I'm going to actually add that to my teacher things to keep for later, because I really like that idea. Play the water cycle game. See, this could also really help if they're looking for different projects. It's very student friendly, and it's in that social media aspect, because I've only had a friend use it once with me, but there's also an instant messaging, just kind of like with Facebook or old school MSN Messenger, that people would use to like instant message. You can absolutely do that here, which I think is absolutely fabulous. There's a blog, business, careers, developers, just there's so many amazing things with Pinterest, and I don't think it gets a lot of credit. And just going off of what we talked about when we did the Lady and the Tiger in class, I think it's just absolutely insane what you can do with this technology. So I just want to make sure that I've covered everything with you. Just basically, yeah, it really relates to the new generation where the children and students are exposed to media at such a young age. They've always been exposed to within technology and society, so it only makes sense that we would put that into our curriculum, and to assume that students would learn just traditionally nowadays is, I think, a bit naive as teachers, because we're constantly learning as our students, so it only makes sense that we would have to update. There is evidence to suggest that technology can enhance the learning experience rather than hinder it. But of course, we can't take away from the teacher being the main instructor, giving the information. But I really think that technology can help. And just like we learned in class with the Lady and the Tiger, it's appealing, it's new, it's different. Would you rather write a paper on the Lady and the Tiger, or would you rather do something cool where your teacher asks you, okay, make a social media account on Pinterest and explain the movie through pins? That's a really cool idea, and that's going to be a lot more appealing to students rather than just writing something out. So that's my basic spiel about Pinterest. I think it's a really good app. I will continue to use it forever. I'm 100% advocate for this site, and I really encourage other teachers to adopt the same attitude, not towards just Pinterest, but media and technology in general. All right, well, thank you, Professor, and have a lovely time marking my video.